Hiya, I am Husky Light. Thank you for stopping by. I wanted to do a video on forgiveness. Not only how to forgive other people, but to try and forgive yourselves as well. Maybe it's because it's holiday season. Maybe it's part of my own spiritual growth that I'm going through at the moment, that this specific subject it's something that I've been thinking about and pondering on and working through myself over a good couple of weeks now, and I've really had to go deep within myself to start to forgive, either a certain situation or a certain person in my life. But as we are on the ascension process, as we are going through this is part of our spiritual growth. This is something that we need to go through, that we need to work through, and something that we need to leave behind as we go into 2017. As I've been through in a previous video, have a look if you've not seen it before. We are going into a year one next year, and it's a year of not only of new beginnings, but of making sure that we have closed the door on things that don't serve us anymore. And there is also an acceptance there of number one, which is such we have to try and accept and learn that without perfection there is, without imperfections there is no perfection. Without light there isn't any dark. Without yin there isn't any yang. There is always an opposite in our world, of good and evil, good and bad. And there are certain things within ourselves that we can work on, that we can forgive, and it is extremely beneficial for us. And there's other things that we have to forgive and accept, that unfortunately that's the way of the world at the moment, and things are slowly changing. Forgiveness comes up a lot at the moment, I think, as well, for especially this time of year. If you're having arguments with friends or relatives, or you're in a position where you're not with anybody this Christmas and you're quite lonely, and you may start sort of looking back on situations or other people from your past and blaming them for different things, blaming them for stuff that they did or stuff that they said. We have a lot of changes out in our global exterior, in the world around us, that are happening. We are finding out an awful lot of things about things that we wish we didn't know, really. But the truth is coming out about government members and government things. I'm sure you've all seen things like Pizzagate and things like that are coming out, which are just beyond horrendous. And before any of you put any comments in the bottom about Pizzagate as a psyop and everything else, I do understand that and I do know that. Let's not get into that side of things. What the most important thing with that is, underneath all of that there is a paedophile ring going on, and what might be superficial on the top, or fake news, or whatever you want to call it, on the top, underneath there is a real thing going on there, which is horrendous. So there's all this stuff that's coming up, and stuff that's in our personal lives, and a lot of this, when we are not forgiving others and we're not forgiving ourselves, we are hurting ourselves, we are hurting our soul, we are stopping and blocking any spiritual growth that we need to do in order to move forward. If we are bitter, twisted, crying, upset, feeling guilty, angry, all of those lower chakra feelings about somebody else, about a situation that happened, that person isn't being bothered. You're only hurting yourself. Drinking poison but expecting the other person to die. It's a saying that I use quite a lot, but it's very, very true. All the feelings that you have about somebody else, it's not hurting them, it's not bothering their life. They're just getting on with things, whereas you are stuck in pain and fear and every other bad feeling there can be. And physically, it stops us spiritually growing. Physically, it can cause blocks and actually give us very real physical symptoms of illness. It can bring on diseases if we keep anger and pain trapped inside us. It's very debilitating, extremely debilitating, and it stops us from being positive, and it stops us moving. So 15 ways of having a look at this situation, having a look, seeing how we can help ourselves, help forgive ourselves, and more importantly, help forgive other people. Now remember, you're not forgiving the action or the act that has been done. You're just forgiving that person in order for you to be able to set down that pain and move forward. It's not for their benefit, it's for your benefit. So let's have a look at 15 ways in which we can work on this and move forward together. Okay. Number 2 is to reconnect with your spirit, to make yourself an instrument of peace. The higher you radiate, the more the lower chakra feelings will disappear for you. So start today, or as soon as you possibly can, by thoughtfully and consciously thinking of making a new agreement with yourself. To do this, stay connected with spirit, even when it seems the most difficult thing in the world to do, even when you are bogged down by bad feelings. Just try and consciously think your way out of it. Turn and tune into your creator, whether that's your guides and angels, your higher self, God, ETs, whoever it is that you are connected to spiritually. Turn your doubts and fears over to them. Transmute your doubts and fears over to them. Let them take care of your worries, and consciously think this, and then consciously try and do something more positive, and try and take joy in every little thing that you're doing, whether it's washing up or looking after the children or the work that you're doing. Whatever it is, put your conscious focus and will into that and transmute your fears and doubts. As you do this, your vibration starts to rise, and as your vibration starts to rise, you start to become more positive. And as you start to become more positive, it's like a chain reaction. The lower chakra feelings that you had before of pain and hurt and everything, they become less visible to you. They start to disappear. They start to stay in the lower chakras where they're supposed to be. And you start to feel better about yourself, and start to feel good about things again. So always consciously, and talk to your guides and angels as well, and say, I transmute my fears and doubts across to you. Please help me with these feelings. And because you are consciously saying that to yourself, it means you are consciously aware that you're having bad feelings, which also means you are consciously aware of you wanting to raise your vibration and take yourself out of that state. So number 2 is make that spiritual connection with your higher self in order to help you deal with a certain situation. Number 3 is never go to sleep angry and never go to sleep on an argument. Each night when we go to sleep, it's like pressing the reset button, and the new day ahead of you tomorrow is a completely new day with completely new thoughts, possibilities, adventures to go on. The last thing you need to do is to think of negative things or things that bring you down. In those final moments before you go to sleep, in those final moments of consciousness before you drift off into your subconscious and go into sleep, the best thing to do when you're in that position, just as you are drifting off to sleep, is consciously not think of things that bring fear to you, things that hurt you, things go over in your mind, things that have happened that weren't positive during the day. Do not focus on those. The best thing to do is your I am affirmations, or to imagine how wonderful tomorrow is going to be when you wake up in the morning. Your I am affirmations can consist of anything that you want them to consist of, as long as they are positive as you're drifting off to sleep. So you can lie there and think to yourself, I am positive, I am healthy, I am loved, I am respected, I am healthy, I am abundant, I am compassionate, I am service to others, I am everything. You know, I am happy, I am positive, my family is happy and positive. Whatever you want, as long as it is in a positive vein. And also, as you are doing that, you are raising your vibration again as you drift off. You reset for the night, you sleep, you wake up in the morning, and it's the dawn of a new day, and you are not carrying the thoughts and feelings and fears that you had the day before into the next day. Number 4 is to switch your focus. So whenever somebody does something bad to you or says something bad, something that you get upset about, instead of focusing on a blame of them, start to mentally shift your energy and shift it over to yourself, and start to understand yourself and understand why you are feeling what you're feeling. Don't blame others for what they're doing, and also don't blame yourself for the way you are feeling and how upset you are at the time. Just mentally focus on the feelings that you are experiencing. Let them unfold through you, let them work through you as well, and realise and tell yourself that nobody else ever has the power to upset you or hurt you or make you feel bad unless you give them consent to do that. And once you can do that, you are then telling yourself that you are unwilling and not allowing that power in that other person to hurt you or get to you right at this moment or at any moment at all. So tell yourself that you are free to experience the emotions without blaming them, without calling them wrong or you shouldn't feel like this or why is this happening to you or anything like that, without chasing them away from you. You've made this shift from having no power to having self-mastery and empowering yourself by just being conscious of those feelings, by just allowing them to flow through you without any blame whatsoever of yourself or anybody else. In that moment when you can do that, you will understand and know instantly how to forgive and how to let go of those feelings as they flow through you. Yes, there are times you are so upset you want to cry and get very distressed, and I'm not telling you not to do that. It's very important so that you don't get blocked to actually let those feelings out. So if you feel like screaming or crying or shouting in the safety of your own space without harming anybody else or upsetting anybody else, obviously you don't want to do that. Let those feelings go. Go hit your pillow, go scream, go cry. Do all of that. Let those emotions come through you, but don't blame yourself for those emotions. Don't blame anybody else for those emotions. Just let them come out. Just let them flow, and empower yourself by saying to yourself that nobody else has the right to do this to you. Nobody else has the right to make you feel in this way and sad, and just let go of whatever comes through. Number 5, or step 5, is to try and avoid telling people what to do. Ask them instead. Avoid thoughts and activities as well that involves telling people who are probably perfectly capable of making their own decisions what to do or what choices to make. So whether that goes for family members or people at work or whoever, your children, don't tell them what to do. Ask them if they would like to do something for themselves in order to help themselves. Your children are not your children. They come through you, but they are not from you. They are sons and daughters of life's longing for itself, so they don't physically belong to us. Try not to dominate anybody or dominate a situation that may be going on at the time either. Pay attention to yourself when you are having judgmental thoughts or even judgmental actions and opinions, and just see where that self-attention takes you. When you replace an ownership mentality with one of allowing, you'll begin to see the true unfolding of the Teo in yourself and in other people. From that moment on, you'll be free of frustration, you'll be free of worry, and you won't have to behave according to your ego-dominated expectations. Step 6, number 6, is learn to let go. Learn to flow like water flows and allow it to flow through you. I can't say the word flow, can I? Start to soften hard edges. Try and be more tolerant of other people's opinions, even if they differ from your own opinions. Try and listen to people without directing or telling them or directing them into a direction they may not want to go in, or simply because it's more your direction If somebody offers you a viewpoint, try responding with the following: well, do you know what? I've never thought of it like that. That's something I could think about. That's something that I could look at. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know your viewpoint on something. When we give up interfering and trying to be a busybody and trying to stick our nose into other people's business, trying to direct their opinions, and when we do that and when we start to just flow and go more with the flow with things become forgiving automatically. Things happen in that way. So picture yourself having the same qualities as water would do. Allow your soft, weak, yielding, fluid self that is within you to enter places where previously you were not allowed or did not allow yourself, where you thought you were excluded from, because of your inclination to be solid and stoic in your ways and stubborn and not wanting to listen to anybody else's opinion. Try and start to be more fluid with that. Perhaps seeing for the first time that what they're experiencing through their eyes, through their ways. Keep the image of yourself as just gently flowing water throughout everything, and watch how the relationship would change as well, and can change, and it will change dramatically if you actually try this. Step number 7 is removing blame, and never assigning blame to anybody else either for what you're experiencing in your life at this time. So even if you don't understand what's going on, you need to be able to be willing to say, I may not understand why I feel this way, why I am upset, why I have this illness, why I feel like a victim under these circumstances or in this situation or with this person, or why I had this accident, or why things are so bad for me at the moment. But I'm willing to say, without any guilt or any resentment, that I own it, that I personally am responsible for having it in my life. And I may not know the reasons for having it in my life yet, but I do not place blame on others. I'm taking responsibility completely for it. When you actually do that, take responsibility for having the experience and for having what's going on in your life, then at least you've got that chance to be also able to take responsibility for removing it from your life, or from learning the lesson that it's there for and why it happened. If you're in some small way responsible for the migraine headache or that depressed feeling or that argument, then you can go to work with yourself and figure it out and admit to yourself that yes, I have a small part in that. Then you can go and you can apologise, or you can try to change the situation. You can let those feelings go after knowing what part you had in it. So if you're responsible for having a migraine or something, is it because you've been running around all day? Is it because you didn't drink enough water? Is it because you ate too much sugar? Is it because you let somebody else stress you out until you got that headache? Take responsibility for absolutely everything that happens, even if it's really, really bad. Whatever that small part is, there may be no small part that you played in it. Maybe you are a complete victim of circumstances. You were mugged, or you were, but there are still lessons from that. You can go home with nothing, and you're left with nothing if you cannot take responsibility. You need to find that peace within you in order to move forward. So it is about taking responsibility and learning that lesson, whatever that lesson is, or just admitting to yourself, if you can't find a reason for it, that in some part it's one of your life lessons. It's something that you had to go through. It's something that you've had to try and learn from, or try to understand from. So number 8 is to let go of resentments, let go of those bad feelings. When you've had an argument with somebody, after you've had that argument, what causes that pain and that anger within you after it? Now, usually the generic answer to that, the logical answer to that in that moment would be, that person disrespected me, that person lied to me, I have every right to be angry with that person because they said this, that and the other to me, they hurt me, there's a whole bucket list of responses that you can give when you're in that moment, when you're angry afterwards, and they're all to blame the other person for those feelings that you have, that have been brought out in you. To live a spiritual life, or to try and raise your vibration, to go with ascension, to go through the changes that we need to go through, as soon as we start to feel like that, we need to start changing that and changing those feelings. And instead of shouting back at them, getting angry back at them, mirroring their feelings with your own angry feelings, it just fuels the fire, it just increases things, it makes things worse. The argument won't end, it will just carry on, and you're blaming them and they're blaming you, and they're blaming you for how they feel, you're blaming them for how you feel. The best way to deal with this is to stop it and to put it in reverse and put the brakes on as soon as you possibly can with this, and offer kindness back to them, offer love back to them. Even if you cannot do that at that time, offer kindness and love because it's got too bad, or and offer forgiveness to them as well. If you can't do any of that, turn your back and walk away. Turn your back and walk away. Stop with the altercation. Somebody has to be big enough and brave enough and advanced spiritually enough to be able to stop it in its tracks. So even if you at that point cannot say that you forgive them or offer them kindness, or at least walk away and calm down and take some deep breaths with that. Don't return the injury back to them. Don't hurt them back. Words are never forgotten. Words can be said, and once they're said, they're said. They can never be taken back, and they can never be forgotten. And it's even worse for yourself when you say something bad back to them and then you regret it afterwards. So if you cannot return and put the brakes on and offer kindness, love, forgiveness back to them straight away, at least walk away. Yelling, screaming, threatening things doesn't help a situation, doesn't make it better. You're just in the same behavioural mode as they are at that moment. Wait for the calm to arrive. Walk away and induce the calm and the peace to arrive. Do not speak to them again until you are both calm. No storm lasts forever. Everything does calm down, and you can help it to calm down quicker when you need to. There is always a time for peace. Number 9 is being kind instead of being right. Do you want to be happy, or do you just want to be right about something? The people that are behaving badly in this world, that are being rotten, being criminal, being bad within the world, are doing what they're exactly what they're supposed to be doing, exactly what they came down on this earth to do, exactly what was in their contract to do. So you can process this any way you choose to do that, but if you're filled with anger and distress about all of the problems in the world, then you are just then adding to the problems and stress in the world. You are sending that up to the collective consciousness by that anger, or by those bad feelings that you're feeling. You're contributing then to the other badness that's out there in the world. So what we need to do is remember that you have no need to make others wrong or to retaliate against them when you feel that you've been wrong. Imagine that somebody says something really bad to you that makes you feel bad, that is offensive, that is hurtful to you. And rather than taking the choice of I hate you, I resent you, having those anger feelings well up from you, step back from the situation and depersonalize yourself from what has just been said to you, so it doesn't affect you, so it doesn't hurt you. Let it wash over you, let it go over the top of your head, and respond with kindness back to them, because if they're being bad, if they're being angry, they have no way to respond back to you. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing while I'm doing this. Let it go away. Respond with kindness to the phone that is ringing and interrupting me, and I could get angry about it, but I will just ignore it, and it's gone now. So set free those feelings, send them, again, transmute your fears and doubts about things over to your God, your creator, and see how much quickly and how much better things flow when you do this for yourself. So it's about being kind rather than being right. People who are angry can't respond to kindness, they don't know how to, and that immediately puts out the flames on things. Number 10 is to practice giving. Practice giving to others more than you give to yourself. When you're in the middle of an argument or an altercation with something, or a disagreement with somebody, try practice giving before you exit instead of taking something from them. Giving involves leaving the ego behind, because the ego always wants to win the argument, it always wants to win, end of. So by leaving your ego behind, you are stopping your ego wanting to show its power, its superiority, by being contrary and being disrespectful back to the other person. Again, your spiritual side of things, your human and your spiritual mixed together, your higher self, your guides and angels don't want this. They don't want your ego to get in the way at all of anything. It's part of your spiritual growth. They want you to be in peace, and they want you to be in harmony, and you can reduce your argument time to almost zero sometimes if you do that. So just before you walk out of the door, instead of taking something and saying I hate you as you go out and slam the door, turn around and say I love you, but I will not argue with you, and it's because I love you that I won't argue with you, and then walk out of the door. Show them that kindness, and that will just, again, put out the flames pretty quickly of any argument that's going on. Step 11 is to stop looking for ways to be offended by anyone or anything, actually, that you see. Some people who are not awake, who are of a lower consciousness, will literally look for anything that can offend them so that they can complain about it or have a go at that person about it. So if it's somebody, a stranger, being rude to them in the street, if it's a news report that they've read that they don't agree with, if it's somebody sneezing in the wrong way in front of them, they can take offence very easily from that, and it causes lower chakra feelings. It's an offence, it's offended. When you have complete faith in yourself, when you have complete faith in your beliefs about who you are, become a person who refuses to be offended by anybody else, by anything or what they say or what they do or what that circumstance is. Don't be offended by it, because, as I said, if you've got enough faith in your own beliefs, then it's impossible to be affected by anybody else's beliefs or how they act or what their conduct is. By not being offended by what somebody else does or what somebody else says, that's a way of you taking control of yourself, and a way of you saying to yourself, I'm not going to let somebody else control how I feel or how I choose to look at this situation. I'm going to choose to be peaceful within myself and have harmony within myself, no matter what I see going on around me, no matter what I observe going on. When you feel offended, you're practicing judgment. You're practicing judgment on that other person. How dare you? Or, oh my goodness, can't believe you said that, or whatever. You're practicing judgment upon that other person. You don't want to do that. You want to feel peace. you judge somebody else in a way of they're stupid or they're insensitive or they're being rude towards you. But again, choose not to do that. Don't be offended by their conduct, because you don't realise that when you're doing that, you are judging another person for their actions or for what they are saying. You define somebody as someone who needs, you become defined as somebody who needs to judge others, and that is your personality. So that's something that and it's something we all need to do and we all need to practice on. And I'm not saying that I am any good at any of these. I practice them every day, I work on them every day, and slowly things change within your life as you practice them. But I'm not saying by any means that any of this is easy, but it's something that is required for our spiritual growth and to learn from. It's our lessons in life. Step number 12, I mentioned briefly at the beginning about not living in the past but being present in your present moment. Animals don't have this problem. Animals don't worry about the future. They don't worry about the past. Your dog doesn't sit there ruminating about what you said to them yesterday or whether they're going to get their favourite dinner tomorrow. And most animals, they are all very happy within the present moment. They don't worry about anything. It's very doubtful that they do that. That's because they're God's creatures. They don't have minds in the way we do, but they use them to the best of their ability, and it keeps them happy and it keeps them positive by being in the present moment. So let's all, on a day-to-day basis, just practice living in the present moment and not letting past worries and past events and past things that were said to us interfering with this. In the moment, you are perfect. In this moment, you are good. In this moment, everything is well and good with you. Practice that every day and don't worry about what has happened to you or what is going to happen to you, and you can live a much more peaceful life that way. Number 12 is learning to embrace the dark times when they come round, whether they come round once in your lifetime or whether they come round every few days. We can have a night of the dark soul, where we go through each chakra, waking through a Kundalini awakening. But obviously every day or every few days or every couple, we come across times that are dark that we really don't want in our life, and we can sit here and think, but I'm good and I practice my I am affirmations, and why do these things come around? Why do dark things come into our lives to happen? And it's just part of our learning experience. It's part of the contract. It's part of what we agreed to. We are responsible for it, and again, we have to take that responsibility in order to move forward. If we didn't have the dark times, if we didn't have the times when we do get upset, we just wouldn't grow. We would stay as children. We would stay, which would be quite nice to stay innocent, but we would stay without any spiritual growth. We would become an empty vessel. There would be no personality to us. There would be no feelings to us. We'd almost become robot-like. We would just live in our brain. We'd have no heart center. We'd have no feelings. We'd have nothing. So we have to learn to, no matter how dark the dark times are, to just embrace them, become aware of them, let those feelings flow through us, and then let them go, understanding the lessons of why those dark times have been brought to us. And then they can't happen to us again once we've actually learnt that, or learnt the lesson properly from that, and embrace it from all perspectives. Understand it, accept it, honour it, and transform it into something positive, transform it into something wonderful. That experience has made you part of who you are today. Without that experience, you wouldn't be who you are today. That makes you you. It makes you unique. It makes you special. It makes you not like anybody else on this earth. No matter how many people are on this earth, you are unique and special in comparison to everybody else. Each one has their own uniqueness. So learn to embrace your dark times. Step 14, which we've already touched on briefly, is refraining and stopping judgment whenever you can, whenever you're becoming aware that you are judging others or you are judging a situation. Your ego comes very much into play again when that happens. It's that superiority of wanting to be right. It's that superiority of wanting to be better than that other person. That's your ego. That ego is very important. We all have an ego. We all need our ego to a certain point, but it very much needs to be quietened down and quelled quite a bit. We really don't need it as much as a lot of us have an ego the way it is at the moment. And again, as part of your spiritual journey, it's something that we learn. We don't need, and we need to quell it down. One of the good things of getting rid of resentment, of getting rid of judgment, of stopping other judgment of other people, other people become aware that they are much more attracted to us because we are more open, we are more honest. We're not likely to automatically judge somebody as soon as they open their mouth. They're more likely to come to us for support, for help, for somebody to listen to them without us judging them for what they've done or what they say or what their feelings are. It makes you a much more open, nicer, more beautiful soul when that ego and when that judgment is taken away from you, because you're in a much more positive state at that point. Criticizing somebody else as well, condemning somebody else of the thoughts, feelings, behaviours that other people have got, just puts us on that moral high box that we shouldn't be on. It makes us, because we all want to feel right and we all want to feel moral, and that's wrong and that's wrong. Again, it's a self-serving human feeling. It's ego that we all need to have, and we need to step away from that and step into our Christ consciousness and step into our higher selves as much as possible, and know that for as much as we criticize, condemn or judge others, the same can be done to us as well. And remember, what we mirror out comes back to us. A lot of you hate that word mirror, but it's true. What we put out comes back to us. We are all Creator's children in one way or another. We all came from source. We all came from the same place. And if you want to be perfect in your own world, then do that and try and be that every day. But to do that, you would have to substitute love for the judgments that you give out. So that's the way to be perfect in your own world. Step 15, the last step in all of this, is sending love, sending peace, sending harmony, sending blessings out to everybody else in the world and people close to you. We are all human. At the centre of each and every single one of us, no matter what colour we are, creed, religion, what job we have, how old we are, all of us at the centre of it wants love, and that's it. So send love. Have love for yourself and send love out to others, and send compassion and send caring out to other people. Yes, we occasionally slip up, but we occasionally make mistakes. We are human. We are spirits in the human body having a human experience. We are bound to slip up, but as long as we try every day, things get better for us and things change, and eventually things change in our reality. And if we are sending love out, then we get love back again. If we are sending blessings out into the world, we get blessings back as well. Again, it's the mirror effect. Send joy and happiness out, joy and happiness comes back to you. So that's how to try and look at things every day through, and perceive situations and perceive other people through your own eyes, with love and with happiness, and as close to that Christ consciousness as you can do. So hopefully this has helped, as always, and I love you loads. And it's time to make some big changes for next year, and any of us who have any forgiveness issues to work through, we've still got a little bit of time left before next year starts. and it's something that we can all work on, and we can all just continually work on a daily basis with some of those steps that hopefully will help you through things. Okay, so namaste, blessings, light, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.